Do we need that link again?
I
forget
posted
what
it.
you call it.
Yeah, it's posted.
I think I added
That
you.
doesn't open in by default.
I think it's the same link, isn't it?
I see like our old chat from last time.
Yeah, it should be the same old one.
It can be user wrecked.
Huh.
Oh,
The
there's
Drift
totally.
Pirates showing up as not being there, but user rec just joined. So
I am confused. What did I
are
do?
you on a different computer or?
I am on.
It doesn't, as long as you can
Same.
see it, it's fine.
Huh.
Is that because I never left? Was I supposed to have left, or now I'm
No,
forever here?
no clue. No clue.
Oh shoot! I need to find. I do have a YouTube video actually.
Just remember to recommend it inside Watch Together for me.
Yeah. Let's see.
Anyway, all right. So for those of you who weren't here last time, the way this works is I'm just gonna start talking, and I don't really bother with an introduction at all because let's face it, the people watching us don't care about us. We're nobodies. We're just gonna get straight into the topic.
Shoot. My timer just went off for the burn end.
Okay, don't worry about it.
Do you mind holding off?
I'll just get started. Don't worry about it. But yeah, so we'll do that, and the episode ends when Baggins says, "I think we overleveled."
Or be overcooked as burnt ends.
Impossible. That's the whole point of them. All right, everyone go dark. I'm going to get us started. So there's this weird thing that happens in gaming where you end up becoming a fan of something that you don't even play. For me, the big one for me is EVE Online, because there are certain things that happen in EVE Online that just can't happen anywhere else. Pirate, are you familiar with any of the hijinks of EVE Online?
I am, having actually played it a little bit, but not to the level that the cool hijinks happen.
Yeah.
I almost hung myself on the learning curve, as the famous comic goes.
Yeah, EVE Online definitely has that that learning curve. So this is one of my favorite stories from EVE Online. The setup being basically there's this guy who's running the EIB, the EVE Intergalactic Bank. And there was some sketchy stuff, but then it looked like he was on the level. Maybe, kind of, but this detective who was like trying to do stuff was suspicious of him. And then he went dark for a little bit, and they're like, "Hey, why'd you go dark?" And he's like, I got in a bus crash. And they started looking, and they found there was a bus crash, and he got in contact with someone through a real life thing, because everyone's worried because stuff in EVE Online can be sold for real money. And so real money's on the line here. And finally, there's like, oh, no, okay, it turns out he was in a bus crash, it looks like. And then a couple months later, something similar happens, and it turns out he's died. And everyone's like, oh, what are we going to do? And so the bank goes on with a new person. And then that's where this the story happens.
But at that moment, the EVE Online community had bigger problems. The EIB had been completely drained of all of its resources. 800 billion interstellar credits, $170,000 worth of in-game currency disappeared from the bank. The detectives stormed the EIB looking for the new CEO. The new CEO tossed him aside. Had he not been dealing with the detectives' relentless auditing, maybe the bank wouldn't have been vulnerable to theft. Everyone was so focused on the EIB that no one could blame them for not noticing the massive spaceship floating into open space at that very moment.
I love that. There's just that ominousness of that.
It was a marvel of engineering. Every last square inch was reinforced, and no credit was spared to ensure this impenetrable titan had the agility to match its firepower. This was the deadliest spaceship that money could buy. It continued drifting and then turned to face the direction of the EIB. The pilot sent out a video message through the game and through the forums. The video was titled The Confessions of an EIB CEO. The username he used was Dentara Rust. It was a name the detective had briefly come across in his prior investigations, but now he knew with utmost certainty that this mysterious stranger was Callie.
Callie was the name of the guy who was the old CEO and the guy who had supposedly died. So we're in a good spot so far.
The blocky bitrate made it difficult to assign any distinct features to the bank robber who now commanded the most lethal ship in all of EVE Online. An average-looking white male sporting close-cropped hair sat in a dimly lit room that gave everything in the webcam an orange tinge.
This is an official announcement from Kelly of the EIB.
He greeted the EVE Online community with an air of business casual familiarity, the formalities betrayed by the smug grin filling his face, capable of being seen despite the poor camera quality.
Just to let you all know, yes, it was a scam. Sorry about that.
He offhandedly apologized like a friend who accidentally...
I love the apology. I scammed you all. Sorry. Oh, this is only Eve can produce this type of shenanigans.
...at the pub and caused you to spill a bit of your drink. Not as the guy who robbed his own bank of 800 billion interstellar credits mere moments ago. The man everyone knew as Callie continued in this manner for 16 minutes. He laid bare his plans from the start. Callie's intent was legitimate. The EIB was founded with 100 million of his own credits. It was making money and players were paid back with due diligence, but it was a Ponzi scheme. He was using the money from new investors to pay off older investors. The bank's records were fraudulent, but seeing as this was one of the first space banks in EVE Online, there were no space bank regulators to stop him. That is, until the detective wouldn't leave well enough alone. Callie tolerated the targeted doubt, but found it tiring to fend them off and continue making the EIB appear legitimate as the months went on. The bus crash, like the detective assumed, was indeed made up, but Callie didn't think the detective was willing to pursue it to the extent of calling the hospital. Callie gleefully explained the phone number was a red herring set up so the detective could run into Peter. Callie then introduced Peter on camera.
Hey man, I don't know what's going on, Mike, but...
He scrunched his face and put on the voice the detective had heard before while talking to who he assumed to be Callie's caretaker. The detective couldn't believe it. He had been so close to uncovering the truth but lacked anything substantial to expose the man who sat there mocking him. Perhaps if he hadn't meddled, he wouldn't have provoked Callie's heist. Unlikely. The video continued and Callie seemed to relish in his own mischief. He believed the only people to blame were the players themselves. At the end of the space day, they were the ones who gave him the money. But the lion's share of the stolen credits belonged to the fat cats, as Callie put it. The corporations that used their resources to force the smaller players into compliance. The EIB still had enough assets for the directors to sell off and repay the common folk of EVE Online. Only the rich would suffer, as Callie used the bulk of their money to pay for the colossal space fighter he was sitting in. The rest of the money Callie used to place a bounty on his own character's head.
And that's where I want to stop, because that is the insanity of EVE Online. Is anyone here crazy enough to put a bounty on their own head?
I'm crazy enough. I'm not clever enough.
What about you, Lenny?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with no. That seems like a poor decision, unless you have some like really underhanded reason, I suppose. I don't know.
Well, from a different interview, I think he had said he kind of had gotten bored with the game, so he also partially did this just to make things interesting for him again.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Well,
in his case, he wants to watch the world burn him.
Yeah.
Well, he wants to watch the world try.
No, so EVE Online is so weird because EVE Online is like pure anarcho-capitalistic simulator. They just sort of let the players do whatever they want.
It's Lord of the Flies.
Oh, it's amazing. Down the rabbit
just for
hole.
context, the amount of money that they're talking about here takes years to accumulate.
Yeah, and from multiple people or like groups, like large groups of people. The other thing, so if you've never seen it, Down the Rabbit Hole did a 6-hour documentary on the history of EVE Online. It's actually incredible. And if you really want to understand the insanity of EVE Online, it's the best place to go if you're in the mood for a 6-hour documentary. I was at a certain point, but they really just let the players kind of just regulate themselves. One of my favorites of the stories that he tells is when apparently there were people had invented casinos in the game, and one of the guilds ran afoul of the casinos who had never tried to flex their might before, and then the casinos decided to launch a proxy war by putting a bounty on this guild's ships, and it's like, if you kill a ship, we'll pay you for it. And they're like, well, they'll eventually run out, and they wouldn't. They just kept having money.
Oh my word!
It was just, no one knew how powerful these casinos that you could, gamble the ISK, which is the currency of the game on, and it's hilarious.
The more I hear about EVE Online, it's one of those. I'm not sure if I'd love it or hate it.
Yeah, I love it because I don't play it.
It's like I love it, but I wonder if that's actually something I'd want to put my time into. That's like, I'm just trying to relax and have fun. That sounds like, I don't know, too much of trying to live in the real world.
Like spreadsheets? That's my first question.
I do love spreadsheets. Of
course I love spreadsheets.
Come on, who doesn't love spreadsheets? Spreadsheets are the best.
Spreadsheets are amazing, dude.
This is the draw.
Yeah. But that's the reason I love that this game exists. I know if I got into it, it would consume me forever. And so I'm glad I didn't.
Dude, I can't think of a game that you wouldn't be able to use spreadsheets on. Goodness sake, I have this giant spreadsheet for just a Warriors game,
Yeah, but the difference is if this requires it. This is a spreadsheet space simulator. But like, you get to some of these wars that happened between the giant corporations inside this game, and the first time it happened that there was a large scale intercorporation war, suddenly they found out how woefully inadequate the servers were going to be, as way too many ships ported into one sector, and people would die but somehow appear in someone else's controlling someone else's ship because the servers just couldn't handle the insanity. And it's a weird problem.
They hand waved the performance problems, calling it time dilation, which basically the frame rate would drop to a crawl during these conflicts, and it was I don't even know how anyone has the patience for it.
Honestly, I feel like if you just got a classic science fiction writer and just told him some of these stories and said, make it a book, it could be incredible.
Oh, that's a good point. I bet they could.
Well, one of the things that's hilarious is if you go into the documentary for this, because one of the big corporations came from another game, and so they kept their old guild name. So he's talking about this grand war involving Goon Squad, and then later on they merged with some group. I can't remember what they're called, but they were the Swarm, and so they became Goon Swarm. And it's just the most insane conversation to have of the most epic war in gaming history, in terms of just number of participants and the fact that there's actual stuff on the line, because you control territory in the game permanently.
This is automatic world building. Is what's that's what fascinates me, because for example, there are some people who, if they want to draw a map for their fantasy world, they'll go out into a parking lot and look for oil stains and just copy out the outline of it, and it has a natural organic look to it. And this is the same thing, but for social aspects, where it's just you start an ecosystem, let it go, see what it grows into, and it is organic because it happened.
Yeah. No, and so Eve is the perfect example of a game that I've never played that I love exists. Does anyone else here have an example of a game they love that they haven't played or played very, very little? Don't all go at once.
I actually made a pretty big list for this discussion.
Okay, hit us.
All right. Well, if you want to go with the video route, there was another moment for an MMO that I actually posted in there. If you wanna,
okay. Let me pull it up.
If you want to see it, I figured I'll go with this one first because it kind of is in line with this one.
This one's
It's actually an Ultima Online video.
One of the most infamous moments in MMO history all happened because of a dev's simple mistake and one player's burning curiosity. Back in 1997, when MMOs were young, Lord British, founder of Ultima Online, dared to address players of the new MMO. No one could have expected what happened next. Reigns, a player for the MMO, got a little frisky. As Lord British was addressing the gathered crowd, he cast a wall of fire spell beneath the venerable creator. To the shock of everyone gathered, Lord British died, succumbing to the flames of the wayward player. You see, on this fateful day, Richard Garriott had forgotten to turn on invulnerability, something that was always done before. But that's not actually the most interesting part of what happened that day. You see, in response to Lord British being slain, the devs in attendance proceeded to summon demons in retaliation, and they rampaged about indiscriminately killing players who had absolutely nothing to do with the murder of Lord British. One of the most infamous
It's just a great story.
I love this. I love it. The pettiness of it is so wonderful.
I actually shared this with Splice just a couple of weeks ago.
No, but
that's why I was looking it up because you mentioned it. I'm like, what is this story? And I found this little short. And I'm like, that's hilarious.
And that's how I learned about it. It's this exact short.
Yeah, okay, one, forgetting to turn on your invulnerability as a dev is one of the dumbest things you could do, but it happens. But I just love it's like they killed the guy who's in charge of the game. What do we do about it? Punish everyone like we're a Greek god.
Our vengeance.
Like this is straight from the Odyssey.
Well, and there's so many stories about Ultima Online. Like the most rare currency was, I want to say, was it cow? It was either cow or horse dung, because there was every horse instance in the game only ever made one pile of this manure, and so it became the rarest item because it was the only thing that had a fixed number of drops, and so it became like the most valuable item in the game.
It's their Bitcoin.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, but
it rhymes with bit.
Yeah, it does. But the thing is that when in any online community, that is how it forms. Like the weird one was Team Fortress 2. The thing that became worth the most was the earbuds that you got for free if you logged in on a Mac when they made TF2 available for a Mac.
Wait, can you get money for that?
I mean, not straight through it, but yeah.
You trade them for keys.
Yeah, and so, but the thing was, it was a limited time thing, and so as people started trading things, suddenly the earbuds became the most worth thing. And so, if like you had way too many keys, and you're like, I need to change this because I don't have enough room in my inventory, you would trade a bunch of keys for earbuds. Because earbuds,
I didn't know I have something valuable. You know how I actually got those earbuds? Because I am not a Mac person, as all you guys know. I had a professor. One of my professors let me use his MacBook to log in to TF2.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Literally anyone could have gotten it by just logging into a Mac one time. But so few did, and it was the limited time thing. And just like the horse poop, it suddenly became the limited item. And so in any currency, what's limited is what becomes the actual, or in any economy, what is limited becomes the currency.
Yep.
So this story with Ultima Online, I just love the fact that they summon demons and punish everyone. It feels appropriate to me. Like I'd be like, look at the VODs being all bent out of shape, but no, in this case, I kind of like it.
See, I like this better than what happened in FF11 when the players, were actually killing a boss that was supposed to be impossible to defeat. Like they gave it ungodly amounts of health but
what was that thing called again? Absolute Virtue.
Recall. Absolute Virtue. Yeah, because it actually shows up in FF14.
Yeah, but it was it was supposed to be unkillable. The players fought it for like a day and a half, I think.
It was days.
Was it days?
It was I think it was like 2.5 days.
Yeah, they basically Zerg rushed it constantly for a very long time.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the way that Square handled it is just as they were about to beat it, I think they just like despawned it or rebooted the server, or and it's just sort of like at that point, just give them the victory. They earned it.
Yeah, but I think I think they legit like. If memory serves me correct, I could be wrong, but I think they gave something about there isn't actually a death animation, and they didn't know what would happen.
Yeah, but that was their excuse.
Yeah, I don't believe them.
Was it just 18 hours? I thought it was longer.
It was an 18-hour straight pull, and the devs had a very specific puzzle solution that nobody. So they didn't like that they weren't beating it the way they were supposed to. That's what I'm hearing. They were solving it the American way by throwing insurmountable numbers at it.
Okay, so speaking of Final Fantasy, that would probably go on my list of games that I never played, but I wouldn't even say love, but I'm just very, very curious to see what it was like. And that is Final Fantasy 14 1.0. Like everything I've heard about it is it's just not good. But towards the end of its life cycle, before everything happened, but before they moved over to A Realm Reborn, it was an experience from what I've heard, because basically what happened is the game was so unsuccessful and it just didn't work that they brought in a new developer, Yoshida, and Naoki Yoshida, and then they said, okay, this is so bad, we're going to drop the moon onto everything and just nuke the world, and then send everybody 5 years into the future. And this 1.0 is basically the backstory for everything moving forward. And so that version of the game is gone. From 2.0 on, you can access pretty much everything still. But 1.0 is just completely wiped off the map. But and it's like it's legend at this point. It's really cool. Like, I love the way they handled it.
Well, and don't players who actually played it have like a tattoo or something?
They have a special tattoo. Yep, characters from 1.0 have a mark.
I actually did put FF14 in my list of games that I love but haven't ever played, because every time I hear the music that's like a remix of the classic, I think it was
there's like a lot of them.
The very first time, like, I was just listening to a video game radio station, and it came up with Battle 1.x, which is a remix of like the NES battle music, and I just, oh my goodness, I'm like, this is amazing. Who made this remix? And I realized, oh no, it's from FF14. This is so fantastic. Good. So good.
Yeah, Soken, in my opinion, is like the perfect person to inherit Nobuo Uematsu's crown.
Blasphemous.
I
don't know. I'm just trying to add something.
They actually get along very well. There are videos of them interacting and just
heresy.
Chilling.
That, and sometimes you want a different remixer than yourself for your music.
The gods can't get along, can they? The gods must be crazy.
Indeed. All right, no. Lizzie, do you have a game?
Oh, that's a good question. I have a list. I think I'll start out with Persona, this whole series. Early on in my marriage with Loonstar, he got sick. And I worked at GameStop at the time. And one of the things they have available to employees is the ability to check out games so that you can stay up to date on the games and understand to be able to help customers in the future, hoping that you know about the games. And so with Loonstar Home's sick, I was like, okay, I'll check out a game for him. And he had been eyeing the Persona series for a while. So I was like, yeah, okay. Persona, I think it was 4, was the first one.
Yep.
And yeah, totally fell in love with that series. I have never played him, but I would sit and watch him play. I've done it for all of the more recent 3, 4, and 5. So we started on 4, then we went back to 3, and then we're super hyped when 5 was announced. And part of what I really love is the art style on that. Each one has its own little like color scheme, and the menus are just so dynamic. And the story's really engaging too. So
the whole reason I played Persona 5, like the thing that sold me was strangely the menus. Our old roommate Matt,
the menus are awesome.
Our old roommate Matt, he was playing it in just one room over, and I just walked by and he was just in the middle of a menu, and he just like had switched like between elements. And it was just so fluid and dynamic. I'm just like, wait, is this the menu? And he's like, yeah. And I'm just staring at it in
style.
Yes, it just style everywhere in those games.
Well, and the thing is that's like an in-game menu. When I first got Persona 5 and just turned it on, I think I spent like 5 minutes just playing around with the title screen menu because it was so awesome. Just as like the camera moves around and the characters all react to just switching the, new game versus continue versus settings, and depending on what direction you went, it changed the way the characters moved. Like, it was just made Mementos look good before the game even started.
Well, and it's just, there's something to be said for whenever even small details like that are stylish, it makes you think the rest of the game might be pretty awesome.
Yeah, if they put that much love into the small details, that's a good game.
And man, I was so hyped when they announced Persona 5, even though the original announcement, I don't think you've seen the original announcement, Splice. It was a red background, and there was a silhouette of a high school desk that had a ball and chain attached to the leg of the chair.
Oh, that's right. That's all that was.
And it said, it's like, do you wish slavery or emancipation? And that was the whole teaser. That was it.
Huh.
But still, I was hyped because I loved Persona 3 and 4, and I knew 5 was going to be awesome.
See, I've tried but never been able to get into the Persona games. I wanted them to grab me and they never did.
I tried to get Splice into 4, but I'm glad he got into 5 at least.
No, Petrivka, I remember you had like a lost weekend with either 3 or 4.
It was probably 4, and for similar reasons to Looney, actually. I was sick, and I had nothing to do at home, but I had a PlayStation 3 that had the PSN store, and I was like, oh, I've heard of this. Maybe I'll try it.
Yeah, I don't remember if I talked to you or if you posted on social media or what about it, but I just remember like you were completely absorbed into it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, didn't you beat it in like 2 days?
No, I don't think I was that insane,
okay.
but I probably played about 2 days straight.
Oh, that must be what it was.
Which one was it? 2 days straight?
That was 4.
Okay.
Yeah, 4. That was the first one, and same story. Just played it straight. I remember Lizzie got jealous of one of the characters that I would.
Okay.
Oh no!
I still can't explain that. It was very irrational.
Yukiko stan or what?
No, I don't like her for whatever reason.
Yep, she hates Yukiko.
That's right.
What did you do, Looney?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have quite the excuse that you had of, I didn't realize that was making a decision, but
yeah, where I accidentally romanced a character because I didn't understand how that system worked.
Wait, who did you accidentally romance?
It was on in 5.
That's not so bad.
Oh no!
See, I usually have the opposite problem in real life.
Yeah,
where I accidentally just completely drive a potential romance option away because I don't understand what I'm doing.
Yeah. No, I had the weird one because I played it entirely on stream, where then my audience was like, romance all the girls, to which I'm like, I'm not romancing the adults. That's creepy. But they bullied me into romancing all the girls who are of Joker's age.
You get them mad.
Yes, yes. And I knew that's what was happening. I'm just like, why do you guys want this? I don't understand.
And also to
reference Baggins burn comment.
to beg forgiveness, I have promised that if I play through Persona 4 again, I'll romance Rise instead of Yukiko.
See? Nothing to be jealous of, Lizzie.
See, and it's weird because he's played a lot of games where you can romance people, and none of the other ones have ever bothered me at all.
Yukiko got you.
But yes, Yukiko, for whatever reason, I was like, I don't like her.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that's not a problem I've ever had. I've never been married to someone.
No, I have to ask Allison, but I don't think she's had that problem.
All right. In the same vein, a game that I'm glad that exists that I've never played for completely different reasons. XCOM 2, Terror from the Deep.
I've played that one, not nearly as much as Petrivka, but
yeah, no one can beat Petrivka.
I've got the 1,000-yard stare over here.
Yeah. So for those who don't know the story, why don't you tell it?
So, like Steam had one of their sales, and this particular sale was this is before, like the Firaxis XCOM came out. So this is like, I don't know.
Yeah, this is old school XCOM.
8, 9, somewhere around then. Anyhow, they had the whole series available for a package, and I'm like, I've been interested in that. Sure, I'll try it. And I went for the first one, the original XCOM, UFO, Enemy Unknown. They have a few different names. That had a learning curve, and that I played that a long time. But I felt like I kind of got this. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go right into the sequel. It's called XCOM Terror from the Deep. And so they added the additional wrinkle that not only do you have to fight the aliens that are invading from the air, but they're going underwater, and they're also like crab lobster men.
Yeah, and what was the the thing underwater? There's an entirely new area, right? Not just a palette swap.
Yeah, and you required different kinds of equipment. You couldn't just use like your regular guns underwater. You had to have special, like weapons that work underwater, and like you start off pretty much only having basically harpoon guns and like a cattle prod. And my gosh, the difficulty curve just like spiked. Additionally, because I believe the easy difficulty was somehow like parameter swapped with the hardest, and
they didn't fix that in the sequel
or in the re-release. I don't. I mean, I didn't actually run into this because I think I chose like a middle setting, but I can only imagine the people who were unleashed on that unholy terror that it must have been the hardest difficulty when they thought they were doing the easiest. But the other thing is, for whatever reason, that game refused to leave my presence in the game on Steam as it refused to let me exit the game, basically. I mean, I would exit the game, but Steam would think I'm still playing it. And so I essentially racked up an ungodly amount of time. I mean, I played a lot, but these guys, to hear them talk.
No, because it used back then. Steam had this whole thing where if you looked, I don't think it still shows it like that anymore. It show you
as prominently, I don't think.
It show you what they've played in the past 2 weeks, like how many hours they've racked up in each game, and we looked, and it said you had over 400 hours logged into that game or something in the past 2 weeks, and we're like, wait. There's only like 300 some odd hours in a 2-week period. What's going on? Why'd you invent time travel to play more Terror from the Deep?
And you guys had this perception that it was like 3 a.m, red-eyed. And
you're just
stop the terror attack.
Well, you're the one who invented the time machine, man. We're not the one who is playing more hours than hours existed.
Not cool that you're bogarting it, by the way.
Yeah, not cool at all.
Or that you will be bogarting. Well, I don't know.
All right, you made me curious. You made me curious. 228.4 hours played.
Oh, that's what it reads on my profile?
That's what it reads on your profile, which, by the way, you've played several other you've played longer on XCOM 2 and XCOM UFO Defense, so... But, yeah.
So, yeah,
but that didn't take place over a couple of days.
Well, more importantly, because if I remember correctly, didn't you actually reach out to Steam to figure out the problem, and they were just like, "It'll fix itself"?
I think I did, because I was sort of like I feel people are asking questions. I'd rather not answer. And yeah, they didn't really have like a. It was one of those things where it's like, this is not like this is an old game. I mean, like what at the time, I can't even remember where it came out. It was like 95, 96.
Yeah,
it ran out of DOSBox, man. So yeah, it's pretty old.
It was just one of those things that I don't know. Early Steam would just have issues like that sometimes.
Oh, early Steam was terrible. I hated early Steam.
Oh, I loved early Steam, but that's just because there was literally nothing else. It's like when Steam first started, it was like, wait, it's like an iTunes for video games. Interesting.
That's exactly what it was.
I still contend, though, that the Orange Box is probably the best value gaming product ever released.
Yeah.
Well, Orange Box was when I decided to get back into Steam, and it was awesome. I'm like, well, they fixed it.
Orange Box is why I decided to get into Steam in the first place, because I'd never used it, bought the Orange Box, and I had to have Steam.
All I know was I had no clue what TF2 was when I bought it. And then it's the game I by far have played the most on everything on the Orange Box.
What? Seriously? So you'd never heard of Team Fortress before?
Nope, had never heard of it.
Oh man, I was excited. I'm like, ooh, TF2. I remember loving Team Fortress Classic.
Well, the original was it was a mod of Counter-Strike, wasn't it? Originally?
Half-Life.
Or
Half-Life 1 mod.
Yeah,
there was also a Quake mod. That the reason why they call it Classic was to distinguish it there. But yeah, Quake had it, and so did Half-Life.
Yeah, and so I had never heard of it, and
I just heard a joining sound effect.
Yes,
yep, we got a mithril.
I've arrived. Just waiting for you to finish your conversation.
Carrier has arrived.
Come on, you should know I play Zerk. Actually, you don't know what I play. Never mind.
Yeah, why would I know that?
Yeah, yeah, it's not like I continued to play StarCraft once I got into college or anything. I didn't actually.
Also, Zerk doesn't have a good has arrived line, so
sure it does.
Sorry, sure that's real pleasant on the headphone users in the audience.
Yeah, they're gonna be fine. They're strong. Mithril. So, what game are you happy exists even though you don't play it?
Happy exists even so. I guess in line with a lot of other people's, it's the MMO stories of World of Warcraft. I never actually played or got into. I had one, like, okay, technically I played like an hour or two in a like their free trial in like Cataclysm, but I was really weirded out and turned off by the fact that, oh, hey, no, the world is completely different, and all the stories I cared about, like, happened and no longer existed anymore, and so I didn't have any motivation to actually play. But the more that I learn about, like, World of Warcraft stories, either classic or vanilla or just anything, there are so many of, like, more of the player stories than the actual, like, game story, the more just fascinated I am by those, you know?
The Barney 64 videos.
Definitely those, some of the pint stuff, some of also just the history with like the plague and the but just the concept of something like the Scarab Lord quest grind is like something that could only exist in an MMO that really like it can only exist in an MMO in like an early internet era in a weird way of like, okay, just throw this out at your players. It doesn't get data mined ahead of time, so people don't know what to expect, and it's just like, hey, here, work together and farm hundreds of thousands of resources, and then we'll open the raid once you do that.
Have you watched Splice's favorite video series?
Which one?
The Scarab Lord Adventures by Barney.
I mean, let me count how many times I have it. I have that playlist saved, and I feel like at least once a month I go back to it.
It's such a good video series. Just Barney's adventures and trying to get... So for those who don't know what we're talking about, there was this enormous quest chain called the Scarab Lord. And the reward was to ride basically a black beetle mount. And you could only get it through this quest chain. And when I say a quest chain, this is a quest that an entire guild has to work together for in order for you to have a chance at getting it. You have to kill bosses in, I think, 3 different raids. Maybe you have to find stuff from all over. You have to kill thousands of bugs to get their parts and turn them in. And it's Barney's quest to get this thing on WoW Classic. And it is one of the most intriguing tales of anything I've ever watched.
And I'm fascinated by the development side, like not development side exactly, but like the type of like developer mindset of like, hey, we're going to put this raid into the game, but we're not just going to put the raid into the game. We're going to, say, hey, all the players in the server need to gather together supplies for the war effort.
Yes.
And then 2, at least one person needs to complete this crazy quest. No one knows how long it's going to be. No one knows how long it's going to take. A quest that basically requires everyone to work together for, like, collectively hundreds of hours of playtime. And only after both of those things happen will we open up the raid so people can then fight the bosses and, you know, maybe get the loot and stuff like that. So it's so fascinating and something that would never be done in the modern era, and I'm sad that it's those things of like, you're sad that you missed, but you're like in some ways okay that it doesn't happen.
Well, and as a group, you also have to agree who gets the title, who gets that mount.
Yeah, who you're working for, because while, yeah, everyone is grinding away for the shards and whatnot for like basically like the second step of like 32 in this quest, all those shards, like thousands of shards, have to go to one player.
Yep.
Like how many people are involved in this chain? I mean,
well,
you said the whole server,
yeah, well, so the start is basically, it's called the war effort, and you have to turn each side has to, like Horde and Alliance has to turn in like tens of thousands of peace bloom and this type of ore and that type of thing. And so you have to do that before you can even start on the rest of the quest. And so now in the old days, because they didn't, you know, it wasn't this organized thing, it just this thing that took forever. But WoW Classic, when they announced that they were doing this again, they had done this before. Everyone knew what it would take. And so things were very organized. And the part that leads to some of the most insanity in the video is the fact that basically they're trying to clear things out of these hives so that your guild is the only one that can farm in there. And it results in basically you contracting assassins from the other faction to kill people who aren't in your guild so that they don't come and take your kills.
Because in World of Warcraft you have
in Classic
PvP.
Anyway.
In World of Warcraft you have servers that are PvP always enabled, so it's not like, hey, you flag or go to a specific zone. It's like, no, if you see an Alliance person and you're on Horde, you can fight and kill them no matter where you are. And it's just, and so if you're on one of these PvP servers, then you are fighting each other as well as the mobs you're trying to kill for shells. And so it leads to some very interesting stories that are very interesting to learn about and watch, but I feel like would be miserable to actually try and play through.
Yeah, it very similar to EVE Online, where I love hearing the stories. I would never want to participate in it.
I hate to be a part of that, yeah.
but it does sound epic. And that's something Barney talks about in the video, talking about how you have this feeling of camaraderie and like you're fighting in like a real war. It sounds stupid, but it was so much fun. But yeah. Now, Petrivka, you brought in a game that I don't think anyone else would have possibly brought in, and have a video for it.
I'll briefly introduce this. So I am a very casual sports fan, but this video, let's let it play.
Can you guys hear that? I can't hear it.
Oh dear, which number is this?
So this is a series by John Boy called Breaking Madden.
I think this was 25. I think that was the version used.
And so
I remember some people doing stuff like this in other games.
So this was the season of Beef Tank, as he calls it, where one team gets players that are basically maxed out on everything, and they play against basically middle schoolers, as you can tell by the looks of things, and just see how much it can break everything. And it's not just like the physical attributes.
He maxed out the size, the speed, the strength,
all their mental stats too.
Yes.
But yeah, whereas and so there's videos in this series where like these tiny middle school players, like they don't even recognize the ball's coming towards them and it hits them, and they're so weak the ball knocks them over. And he does this every year. Breaking Madden he always has some weird gimmick he comes up with for Breaking Madden and seeing what they can do. And it's hilarious.
I just let it play a little more, because you see a few more glitches that result.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like, doing this causes the game to stop being able to understand what's happening. Just look at this. Just getting blown off. This character just froze.
The AI breaks on some of the characters, so this guy is just about to get rocked by the entire opposing team.
It wasn't that different from the actual Super Bowl, unfortunately. Yeah.
So Splice knows I'm a casual sports fan, which I think he's just happy that I'm a sports fan at all.
Yes.
But, I didn't really play a lot of sports related video games growing up. I did have some really janky thing on the SNES called Super High Impact. It wasn't even like an officially branded, NFL anything. But when this series came out, and this would have been what, like 2013, 2014, thereabout.
Yeah.
I could not look away. This guy, John Boyes, he made about like 40 of these videos of just doing silly things, like trying to do an impossible scenario, like trying to get a 98-yard quarterback sneak with Tom Brady, and he like just documents how long it takes. And for those who don't understand, it's giving the quarterback the football and having him just trying to wriggle his way through the entire opposing team without getting tackled, which is not usually a thing that can happen. But if you let the game simulate it 1,000 times and he speeds it up, you can see what happens, and sometimes unexpected results. With the Beef Tank people, the massively oversized and overstated guys, he tried to set the record for scoring on the opposing team and found that there was a hard limit at 255, which is, kind of understandable. After and this is even on, this is on the later version of Madden.
Yeah.
This is.
So we know exactly how many resources they want to assign to keeping score.
Keeping track of the score, because once he scores the final touchdown, no matter what, it hard locked his Xbox. Like he couldn't even, like he had to unpower the thing in order to start it up again.
Yeah, they allocated exactly 7 bits to that one.
But that's probably my favorite game that I've not played. Besides, some of the MMOs mentioned here, but I am a firm appreciator of the especially the Breaking Madden series. Highly recommend if you want to see some game breaking shenanigans.
Okay, I've got one. So technically I have over 200 hours in this game, but I don't feel like I ever really played it properly.
Okay.
And that's Ark Survival Evolved.
Okay.
Oh gosh, you tried to bring me on that.
So that game, I only played on a private server with a couple of friends. What I'm saying that I never did was I never played on a public server because that was the Wild West. So Ark Survival Evolved, for those who aren't aware, it's a survival game where you just wake up again, like most of them, you wake up naked on a beach and you just start gathering resources, building, and you just happen to be on this world where there are also a lot of dinosaurs around. No idea why, but like as you explore, you can actually find documents that kind of give you an idea of the backstory. But on the public servers, it was sort of like with EVE Online. It's just like, you have free reign. Do what you want. Good luck. May the odds be ever in your favor. And
you told me some insane stories.
There are some absolutely insane stories. The one that I told Splice that really stood out to me. Are you playing the?
No, I'm not. I'm trying to get the sound isn't working for me, so I've tried to solve it while you're talking.
It was working just fine. So, anyway, the one that really stood out to me, and I've learned a lot of these stories on the Ark subreddit, but there was this one guy who he was a loner and he built up his own base and he knew how to hide it, because in the game it is full PvP. So there were people who would create guilds and set up bases and all that stuff. And if you're a single person, you really, really need to hide your base, or they're going to come down on you and just destroy it, steal all of your stuff, and run off. So what this guy did, though, is
I'd hate that.
So he was wandering along, not doing something, and I can't remember exactly what happened, but some guy from a guild, I think, came and ganked him, took his stuff, and was really, really rude about it. And he took offense to this, and so it's one of those moments where it's like, oh, you messed with the wrong guy. Because first off, he had multiple alts on the server, and so he logged in as a different alt and sort of started chatting with the guy and essentially lured him into a trap where his character was hit with with sleeping darts. So the thing about Ark is when you log out of the game, your avatar does not disappear. They fall asleep where they're standing. And so
that's not concerning.
So when you log back in, or when you log out, you don't know what's happened. Somebody could come along and kill your character while you're logged out, unless you're well hidden and protected. So what this guy did is he trapped him and ended up pulling him, like dragging him to a hidden base and sticking him in a chair, you can also interact with other people's inventories if you're close enough. So he filled the other guy's inventory completely full of rocks so that he couldn't move, put him in a room that was set to have temperature control, because your characters can freeze to death. And he started force feeding him to keep him alive and stuck him in a clown mask. So he's literally chained to a chair,
weighed down by
people
a ton of rocks,
and he can't get out. The only way for him to get out would be for his character to die. But the guy set it up so that he's not going to freeze to death. He's not going to die to the elements. You can actually force feed him. And it's just sort of this mad, psychotic revenge. And he kept him there for 2 weeks.
And people wonder if games can create serial killer-like behavior.
And it's just like, this is insane.
We're keeping this guy off the street. The video games are saving people right now. The story.
But it's like these are the stories that you find in the Ark subreddit. They are just completely bonkers. And that's only one of the stories. Like, there were others that are just absolutely nuts. But yeah, so like I said, even though I've got, I think, like 240 hours in that game, I've never played it.
Yeah, not like that anyway.
I mean, to be fair, as much as I love, similar games like, what's the space one I like to play? Elite Dangerous. I don't play in the public server that's the Wild West.
Hold on. You played Elite Dangerous? Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Do you?
I only recently got into it, but I got in kind of at the wrong time, I'm afraid, in the dying days.
I don't know Elite Dangerous at all.
It's similar to EVE Online in the sense that there's a persistent universe, but it's not as it's not. There's not as much gankability going on there. We'll put it that way.
Gotcha.
No, it plays more like Freelancer. If you're familiar with that one.
Nope.
It's heavy on the space flight simulation, which is what I really liked it for.
Yeah. No, I really like Elite Dangerous. I bought a HOTAS to play it, and
oh man, yeah.
I played it on a PS4 controller before that.
Exploration was my jam. I don't know why I found it like so zen to do that, but yeah.
Yeah, Niramur was also big into that one. He's the one who got me into it, actually.
Yeah. I think I knew that he did, but yeah, I think I think everyone kind of maybe moved on by the time I got in.
All right. Well, Lizzie, you told me earlier one that you wanted to talk about, and I'm completely in the same boat, was Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Ah, yes.
Yes. I honestly, when they announced Breath of the Wild, that was one that I was like, oh, it's all open world. This is going to be so weird. I'm not going to like it. I played and did everything in Breath of the Wild, except for all the Korok seeds. I wasn't that crazy. But like, I did the hard mode challenges. I found like everything other than the Korok seeds. And so the announcement of Tears of the Kingdom, I was like, oh, I'm going to love this. This is going to be great. I haven't put it in my Switch yet. I haven't played it.
Odd choice, but there it is. The thing that I love, I haven't touched it at all yet either. I bounced off of Breath of the Wild. I didn't like it. But I'm loving watching the builds and things that people come up with. And so...
those are hilarious.
So, they give you a couple tools like rockets and sticking things and stuff. And it's clear that some people have gone mad with power because people have invented cruise missiles.
Seen that one's awesome.
Yeah, and so this guy goes through the entire build of how he makes a cruise missile. He does stuff with stabilizers. You even put like a payload on it so that bombs spread and it targets. So you launch it up in the air. It then gets triggered by seeing that there's mobs beneath it, which then activate the second rocket, which then launches it straight down to murder entire villages.
What people have done with
most of the stuff I've seen of wanting to cause harm, it's to the Koroks. People get so sick of trying to move those where they need to be. You see some very interesting buildings.
Oh, I use Korok rockets all the time.
Korockets?
Yeah, and Breakfast is particularly cruel to the Korok. He's very much the just attach it directly to the bridle of the horse and drag it behind the horse.
Drawn and quartered?
Yep, drawn and quartered. That's how Baggins does it.
The way I think about
Not
Tears of the
bad.
Kingdom,
Breakfast.
the way I think about Tears of the Kingdom, it's like it's Legend of Zelda meets Fantastic Contraption. If you ever played that.
No, well, I just know when I saw the trailer for it, I was just like, Legend of Zelda nuts and bolts.
A little bit.
But like, you know, actually built properly.
Yeah.
But just like, look at, like, this is insane. Just, I'm going to build a cruise missile. But that's nowhere even close to like the stuff people build. Baggins, for example, has a Godzilla film was created in Tears of the Kingdom. So yeah, they built themselves a Godzilla.
I don't have the patience to figure that out, but I love seeing others' creativity.
You're wondering how they made the four legendary beasts or whatever in Breath of the Wild. This is the technology.
Yeah. Well, it's like, so weird.
They made the whole movie.
It's fantastic.
Well, and then there was a channel I was watching that it would have like the best moments and builds, and they'd have like war crime of the week and stuff like that. Oops, wrong thing. But let's see. I think I added that one. Did I? No, I did not. This one. So this is one of these builds. Oh, look, they've built themselves a mech. You just look at some of these things, you're like, what is this thing? As you start watching it, and then you're like, oh, that's just a UFO. They just built a UFO.
Takeoff and landing.
Where was this video had something in particular though? Oh, there it was.
You know, the problem is you could do all this cool, crazy stuff in Tears of the Kingdom, but there was like
pod racing.
Yep.
There was no reason to, like, ever.
Except to do it. And this is the perfect reason. Like, look at this.
It's a perfect example of what's the term, like the developer term, like emergent gameplay versus intended gameplay.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like the best devices were the simplest ones, where like you took off parts that you realized weren't completely necessary to make it simpler and it lasts longer.
Squawk horse. Oh my gosh. It's a co-op horse.
It's just, all this stuff is so insane. But it still has the laser so it can shoot stuff. Somewhere in this video, someone built like a fully autonomous like drone. Oh wait, they built a big rig.
Optimus Prime.
Let's see, was it here? Yeah. This one's kind of funny just because it's like, where will this go? Anywhere!
Oh, this is like Axel from Twisted Metal.
Yeah, basically. Dang it, where's the drone?
His arms aren't stuck in the wheels there.
What on earth is this thing?
My gosh,
It doesn't handle the best.
It gets the job done.
I'm impressed they've got any degree of stability in
Well, so that thing you see on the back is called a stabilizer. It's basically a gyroscope.
Yeah.
And so you can use it to try and get more stability on things you shouldn't be able to. Is this the drone? No. Well, that's pretty awesome.
We should let this team remake Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts.
Yeah, really should.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay, here it is. The fully autonomous drone. It's a ground drone. I've seen airborne ones, but I'm kind of partial to this, where they just bring their siege engine, activate it, and it just goes on a rampage.
I need one of those. Those tower bosses freak me out sometimes.
But yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is like with the recreate rune, I don't remember what it was, but like you build a library. Yeah. Suddenly you get this in your library and it's just like, okay, this is what I need.
That's true. That the auto build did make, because there were a lot of times where it's like, maybe I could try and make something really cool, but I'm like, but it only lasts for a little while and then I'd take forever to build again, and that solves that problem for me.
But the other thing I love, just like other than the insane builds, even the simple stuff, like just watching someone else play and you see them trying to solve a problem, like, ooh, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then like that put something down, and then the wheels, because they're on top of a mountain, the wheel starts rolling slowly downhill, and they don't notice it at first, like, oh wait, no, come back, and they can't catch up to it. And it's like going at the exact same rate they are, and they finally catch up to it, and then they look back up the hill. They just descended down to catch this one wheel because they don't have a spare wheel for their device they're building.
And they forgot that there's an ability to rewind time to bring it back running down after it?
Well, no, because there's still skill involved in that because you have to catch it. In order to do that, you have to, and so if it's rolling fast, you miss it. It's now out of reach. You're just like, no, you just see it fruitlessly.
When you start it pauses the game while you're aiming it. So, but
you got to get there before it's out of range.
Looney is basically saying skill issue, man.
The guy needed to get good. Yeah, sure.
But it's just the insanity of it, and you try and build something you think is going to work, and then it just doesn't. And you're just like, there's a design flaw here.
It's a little like what I hope that Space Engineers game was going to be. I tried playing that. And
I tried the demo, and
never quite what I was hoping it would be.
Yeah, well, same here.
This is the benefit of being a Nintendo developing team is on a Legend of Zelda game. You know you can just sit there and take your time because you know it's going to sell gangbusters. And so, I mean, this game was in development for like the entire life cycle of the Switch.
Well, and then it came out as the first like $70 Switch game.
Yeah. And it sold, man. It sold.
Yeah, people still bought it.
And didn't put it in their Switch.
Hey, I may not have played it, but pretty much the rest of my family has.
And the only reason why I shelled out $70 is because I had a gift card.
Hey, and no judge. I mean, I was kind of like Splice. I did bounce off of Breath of the Wild, but I am thoroughly entertained as well by these videos.
Yeah, Warcrime. I gotta find the guy who does Warcrime of the Week. It's my favorite part, but I haven't been able to find. Or wait, maybe it's this guy. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll see if I can find it. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, there's that one. You said you had an entire list there, Lunasar?
Oh yes, big list. So I actually did put a video for one of them in my list.
Okay.
It's Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Oh, okay.
I haven't played.
You didn't play it? Oh.
I haven't finished Deus Ex 1 yet, okay? I got to Shanghai, and people are like, oh, that's when the game gets really good. And then I just set it down, and I haven't gotten back to it.
Oh, that hurts my PC heart.
But I haven't played any of them, even though it's been on sale for like
Easter egg in Human Revolution, the Final Fantasy 27 poster.
I mean,
it also makes me sad that they just canceled the current Deus Ex game they have been working on.
But I'm still looking forward to playing Human Revolution because it looks fantastic. I get in this point where I'm like, I have to finish the first Deus Ex first. I've been given permission to skip Invisible War.
Dated. Yes, Breakfast would also agree.
But like, I've occasionally picked up Deus Ex again, and my problem is I'm too much of a perfectionist that I can't just they give you multiple ways to solve every problem, right?
You want to try?
I want to try every type of solution. So like, I'll do a stealth run through the area, and then I'll like stealthily take out everything so I can. Yeah, I make the game harder on myself than it needs to be.
Oh, I'm glad to report that they keep that same spirit in these newer ones, the Human Revolution and Mankind Evolved.
So yeah, I really love Deus Ex. I haven't put the time into it, and Human Revolution looks good. It's honestly, it seems like it did for the color gold what Persona 5 did to the color red, and that Easter egg, I love that Easter egg of Final Fantasy 27. Just love it.
I didn't quack for this.
And I am sorry I hurt your PC heart that I haven't played. I bought it, but I haven't played it.
Hey, but it's good. You'll like it when you get to it.
Yeah. So though there is at least one game on my list that I actually have played a little bit of, and it's funny. I played it for like a couple hours. I just started playing it. And I got a couple hours into it, and I saved, and I stopped for the day, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that game was awesome. It was amazing. I even made a note that the game was awesome in my backloggery, and I haven't picked it up again just because life, And that is Muramasa the Demon Blade on the Wii. It's just it's a fantastic game. It's kind of a spiritual successor to Odin Sphere, and it was just so much fun. You have different katanas that they break and repair over time, but when you break it, it performs this ability that can like hit half the screen, and I don't know, it was just so fun. And I need to pick it up again, get back to it. But I just haven't in like a decade.
Well, it's harder for those older systems, especially if you pack the old system away.
Well, the kids have the access to the Wii. I'd have to take it back from them. It was hard enough to get the Wii U from them to finish up some games. Goodness.
Well, at least that's good.
Funny things, like my son's like, oh, I really want my own Switch for Christmas, and I'm just kind of looking at him. I'm like, how many hours have I played the Switch in the last year and a half compared to you? Like, I think you got 97% at the time, but it's pretty much.
Well, yeah, in our family, we kind of got sick of sharing our Switches, so I had enough reward points at work that I got my own Switch.
More Switches.
And then Lizzie. And then Lizzie's like, okay, yeah, I need my own too. So she got herself one. So our original Switch is now just the family Switch.
That's kind of why I got my Steam Deck, because my nice PC keeps getting taken away.
Shame.
Let's see, another one I have on my list, and this one's just one of those important games. Dune 2, The Building of a Dynasty.
Ah, the start of the RTS.
The start of the RTS. I have never played it, but
this isn't related at all. I'm just gonna put more Legend of Zelda stuff going on. Don't worry about it.
How old is that one?
Oh, that's loud.
Turn the volume down a bit.
You guys are the ones who have to do
it's gotta be like 80s, I want to say.
Is it that old? Wow.
I mean, it has to predate StarCraft.
Well, okay, Dune 2, Building of a Dynasty, 1992.
That's old enough, I'd say.
Yes, developed by Westwood Studios. So that would have been before they did Command and Conquer, and then before Warcraft 1 came out.
Yep, it's like the original RTS. And I'm glad it exists. I'm glad it exists.
You can see the Command and Conquer, like, blood starting to be formed here.
Yeah, it's the original. Of all things, it's for a licensed game. Proof that
I'll put like a screenshot there in chat here.
Yeah, just because something is for a licensed game doesn't mean it has to be garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that.
Let's see. Another one on my list is one, I think Baggins might have mentioned it last week. It's one I bought because I love it, but I haven't actually sat down and played it really, is Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. Because, oh my goodness, the first time my friend was playing it, and he got a blue screen of death on the GameCube, and it freaked him out.
What? A blue screen on the GameCube? That was a thing?
Yes.
No, Eternal Darkness.
It's Eternal Darkness messes with the player, not just the character.
Yeah, so in that game you have what's called a sanity meter, and as you encounter enemies and you take damage from them, instead of just HP damage, you also take sanity damage. And as it's happening,
so like that board game, House on the Hill.
Yeah, so initially
it's very Lovecraftian.
Initially what happens is just like when you're full sanity, like the atmosphere of the game looks, bright and cheerful, and it's slowly like the lighting gets darker, walls start having like deterioration and possibly blood on the walls or something. Like it just starts getting dark and creepier, and everything just, and like the music gets scarier. If you're playing surround sound in the dark and at night, the music will start freaking you out with all the moaning and ghost sounds and all this stuff. But then eventually, when you're completely out of sanity, instead of messing with the character in game, it starts messing with the player. So like it'll bring up your TV's volume bar and start moving it up and down, changing the volume.
Just a fake volume bar.
Yeah, it's a fake volume bar.
Oh my gosh! So this sounds really reminiscent of stuff Kojima would do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Oh yeah.
And let's see, the blue screen of death was one. There was
a cockroach would run across the screen, and it would actually look like it was a real cockroach running.
Or occasionally you'd like walk into a room, and there would just be a swarm of monsters that just attack your character and just completely destroy you, and then the screen goes black, and then it's having you just enter the room, and like that didn't happen. He was just faking you out. It was just the game was faking you out. Or it'll occasionally like bring up like your memory card and start deleting your save file for the game, and like all sorts of crazy stuff like that.
And then on top of it, just nothing had really done that before. And so it's something that can only happen in a truly interactive medium. It's one of those things that if you're trying to justify games as an art form, it's one of the things that really show that it can be if you want it to be.
I still haven't decided if it was more cruel when they make it so you get swarmed by a bunch of monsters that didn't actually happen when you go into a room, or when you go into a room and it's full of like items and loot that you can just go and loot everything, and then the screen goes black and then you enter the room and you didn't get any of the loot. Just head fake you. Which one's crueler? I don't know.
I don't know either. All right. Does anyone have any other games they want to talk about?
I got plenty more.
There's some games that I kind of appreciate the existence of, but haven't really interacted with. For me, Age of Empires. I like 4X games, and
Age of Empires.
Age of Empires, like I mean, part of it is maybe the RTS repulsion in me. I've always kind of been a little bit anti-RTS just because I'm not sweaty enough to be good at them, basically, is the problem. And but I appreciate that it got a lot of people interested in 4X type games where you start Civilization sort of thing. But Civilization's really more my jam because I like taking my time.
And it likes taking your time.
You like taking just one more turn and then it's suddenly 4:30 in the morning?
Yes, absolutely.
No, I got just good enough at StarCraft 2 to make people quit. And I'm really proud of that. Yeah, oh couch.
I started getting decent at StarCraft 2, and then my laptop's wireless card started going out, and so I would keep dropping mid-match, and so I couldn't play anymore.
No, mine was, it was a map that, the map was designed like an X. And, you know, if you think of a square, if you have an X where you can stand, the north, south, east, and west, you can't. And so I was playing Terran, and this tells you how good I was. I was going for a battle cruiser rush, which is not a thing.
At the time, at least, it wasn't.
Yeah. And so I had a couple battle cruisers, couple of Ravens, which are good because they can put the drones down that protect your air units from ground units, essentially. And all of a sudden, this guy comes in with a giant army of Zerglings. And I mean, just huge. And I'm Terran, and so I lift off what buildings I can, but he still has some Hydras, and so most of my buildings are burning, but I get a few and I escape them to the no man's land where ground units can't get. And I had enough battle cruisers where I could protect these things. And I have enough Ravens that I'm slowly whittling down his army, and he starts raging at me. It's like, I'm going to report you. And to which I'm like, you're going to report me for what? For using game mechanics as intended? Like,
you have the whole map. You could just get the gas, make flyers of your own.
Well, so this is the thing.
But no.
So
did you win?
So we're 25 minutes into this match, and he is raging at me. And I decide, what will piss this person off the most?
5 minutes. Oh my gosh.
We're not halfway done with this match.
I was gonna say that's like
slightly
long for a match, but no, those can go upwards of an hour.
Yeah, well,
I've had one of those. I'm not gonna concede the match moments.
Yes, and that's what it was. And so I decide what's going to piss this person off the most. And so I decided to start talking to him like I'm his father, trying to get him to accept responsibility in his life. I'm like, come on, like you still have things you could do here. Like you could start, spread out. I clearly can't land because your army's too big and I don't have builders. So, spread out, build, I forgot what it's called for the flying units, but
Mutalisks.
Yeah, Mutalisk. Yeah, the Spire. That's what it is. The Spire. Like, build spires everywhere. Start building Mutalisks. Like, you can still do this. His name was Couch, and I'll never forget it because he just keeps raging at me and how he's going to report me. And I'm like, you really can't report me. I'm not doing anything that's against the rules. Like, this is how the game is supposed to be. You're the one who, on a map that has clear fly zones, didn't put anything. And I just slowly whittle him down, and he's raging the entire time. The match ends at 53 minutes. And I decided, because Battle.net was a thing that existed, you could watch people. So I decided to go check out this guy's profile, and he never played another game of StarCraft after that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I would check every few months. I would go check in. I'm like, I wonder if Couch has picked it up again. And that they no longer have, like, I can't find him anymore because the name's too generic.
Last straw.
Yeah, I broke the man, and that's a badge of honor to me.
Man, and you won that match, right?
Oh yeah, I won. It was great.
Because there are times where, like, you're playing and people, like, tell you need to concede, like, way too early. I mean, like, they may be right, but at the same time, it's like, it's not their call,
Yeah, well, that was my specialty. Never concede, force them, just be as annoying as possible.
Oh yeah, well, that's the thing. I play Protoss, right? And, like, I get to the point where, like, especially if they're being really annoying, I just take one probe, escape with it, and just put photon cannons everywhere. Like, I go to an unoccupied part of the map and just cover it in photon cannons. It's like, all right, I'm making you work for it now. You were being rude,
Shame. Yeah, that brings me up to one of the games that is like a technicality on my list, where it's like, yeah, I've played it a lot, but I haven't played competitively, and that's Brood War. where it's like, okay, I've played the campaigns, done some use map settings with friends and whatnot, but I never ended up really playing it competitively. But I have such an appreciation for the sheer skill of the Koreans that can, that I still, despite not really playing it competitively myself at all, I still watch the Korean StarCraft leagues all the time for Brood War. And it's I've stopped following StarCraft too, but I still follow Brood War, and it's just so interesting to me, despite never having played it competitively or anywhere near that level.
Yeah.
It's just really interesting.
Whereas for me, it was more about Day 9's Fun Day Mondays.
Oh, yeah.
Where he gives people a condition that they have to fulfill, and then they have to try and win a game with him being you have to... you have to expand 5 times before you attack. And my personal favorite, just the closest games ever. And it's just games where the guys are down to both of them only have 2 units and no builders. And it's them microing their hearts out, trying to survive. And it's so tense. No, you want a good time. Just look up Fun Day Monday closest games, and it's so good.
It's
sometimes those
10 years old by this time, but yeah.
Well, my favorite moment in Brood War, actually in the single player campaign, there's one Protoss mission where you get 6 Dark Templars, and this is before you can build them. You're just given 6.
Oh, in the base game, yeah.
Yeah, in the base game, you're given 6. I think it's a Protoss mission. Maybe it was actually
No, it's the Protoss versus Protoss.
Yeah.
Mission.
And you have those 6 units, right? But you can build a base and do stuff. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this entire map using only those 6 Dark Templar. And that was so much fun.
If you're interested in people who do that sort of challenge runs, Deathless runs and whatnot, if you've never heard of Giant Grant Games, he does crazy Deathless runs, single unit type runs of the full campaigns on the hardest difficulties. Great stuff.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the big thing that we're seeing sort of as the through line of all these games that we don't play but really appreciate. It's some big multiplayer element that makes it so that there's these interactions that keep things novel for people who don't even play the game.
Oh, definitely. It's the whole, not exactly FOMO specifically, but it's elements of that of it's sure, the game itself, the game is fun, but the more fun part is the stories told by the community after the fact, and be oh, wouldn't it have been really cool to be a part of that moment? It's be a part of Scarab Lord, be a part of the death of Lord British,
Yeah, well, even things that are single player, it's just the ability for people to tell story. I mean, I had no interest in, what was it, Metal Gear Survive or whatever it was, but watching Donkey play it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Is he's just doing something wacky, and his ability to make it entertaining is the actual story.
Yeah, they're anything touched by Spiffing Brit or something, where it's just okay, how are you going to absolutely break the game in half today?
And and that's the thing, is just the creativity of the internet is what makes these things good. And so I'm glad that we're seeing a lot of these games that are more interactive and give the player a lot of power, and not worry so much about players playing the game wrong, and instead letting them play it how they want to.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, well, we've been going for quite a while. Let's see. Oh wait, there's one more video. Who was this from? Dang it.
Oh, I started posting. I have a list of games that I love just because of the music.
Ah, that is one I forgot about. Unfortunately, no one can hear the music on stream.
Oh, shoot. That's the SNES edition, not the NES. I chose the wrong one. But,
tut. Yeah, it doesn't matter. No one who's watching can hear it anyway because the sound's bugged.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize people couldn't hear it, but
yeah, it's like the rest of us can hear it, but Splice can't for some reason.
Let me test something. Just one sec. Let me test something real quick.
I wanted the NES Sunsoft Batman, not the SNES, because it's got fantastic music.
Oh, you put on Silver Surfer NES here?
Oh yeah, Silver Surfer NES.
Such a bad game.
With such a good soundtrack. It's insane how good that soundtrack is.
I played was the Batman Returns SNES
game. Oh my goodness, that game is so weird.
I really dug it.
Oh gosh.
Like beating up all those clowns, it was satisfying.
I had a friend that played it. We tried to play it together. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
It's one of the worst multiplayer games.
The Batman Forever one, or are you talking about a different one?
Batman Forever.
Returns.
Oh, I'm talking about Batman Returns.
Gotcha. Sorry, as I said, Forever.
Yeah, my bad.
Michael Keaton.
I remember Batman Forever on SNES. I remember just spamming the jump attack where he does the glide, and it's just... I just spammed it so much and knocked out everyone around me.
Well, yeah, so the games I have that I put down purely for the music. So yeah, is as awful as Silver Surfer was as a game, such a good song. The Sunsoft NES Batman game, because it's got just great music all around.
That was a fun game.
I think Sunsoft made awesome NES platformers, so I bet it was a great game. I just never actually played it.
I definitely did.
I also put in Seventh Dragon 2020. That's not the future anymore for us now, but it had a song on it called "The Last Location of Mankind," which I think is the theme song of like the main town in the game. And
that is an absolutely edgelord name.
Yeah, "The Last Location of Mankind." But man, it is like the most chill song to vibe to. It's like often when I'm trying to concentrate and write some code at work, I'll put it on.
I'm looking. Is this a PSP exclusive or is it just?
Yes, it's a PSP game.
Well, geez.
No wonder I've never heard of it.
No wonder it's so edgy. It's probably like mid 2000s or something.
Oh yeah. But
very Japanese looking.
Oh
yes,
Silver
it is.
Surfer,
Absolutely.
Classic MIDI guitar riffs.
Yeah, between what's this guy's name again that does the...
It's Follett. There's two brothers that are the Follett brothers, and I think it's Tim. I think it's Tim Follett.
He also does the Pictionary NES theme that also absolutely rocks.
Yeah, the Pictionary one, it's like he went way harder than he needed to for Pictionary.
Yeah,
but it's great.
They made a Pictionary theme song too hard.
Oh, okay. Find it for me.
All right.
Like this, no joke. Like this song, it's one of those things where
would this come out on?
NES Pictionary, and it's one of those things that the internet at some point discovered it. Like, because
Tim Fallen, not Follett, Fallen.
Fallen. Okay,
I found it. I'm going to link it.
Yeah, and this song, I'm so mad that for some reason it's bugged for me, but you guys will get this in chat here and this song is it's the epitome of this is way too much effort for this game. This game does not deserve this amount of effort.
I wonder how the pitch meeting went. Like, we just need a song, man. Like, just do whatever. And it's like, okay, you're gonna get it.
It's just the kid who never holds back.
Well, it's a perfect example of you never ask someone who actually is an artist or a musician to quote just do whatever, because they don't know how to hold that's how you get something that's truly off the wall.
No, honestly, even though he went super hard,
isn't it incredible?
Well, like, this isn't even like his most over the top work. I just posted the one that I think is most over the top, which is the title theme to Solstice, which actually is a game that I did have as a kid and played, but...
Doesn't the song want to make you just draw pictures with a horrible controller drawing tool?
I can't imagine actually drawing with the controller.
I don't think you actually... I don't think, if I remember correctly, you don't actually draw in this.
That sounds right.
I think like
this is the one where it's
like an AI drawing for you.
The AI draws something, you have to like put it and guess it.
Oh wow, that's like the old win, lose, or draw game I remember playing back in the day.
Or Anticipation.
Or maybe you could. I don't know. Anticipation. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. It's. Oh, if you want to see some people just do bad art with video games. Again, more stuff on YouTube to recommend is like so much so. I can recommend that later or whatnot, but it's cool stuff.
Yeah. Also in the vein of never played it, glad it exists. All the CDI Nintendo games.
Oh dear. Yes.
Like
purely for the memes.
The memes are
just for the YouTube poops.
Oh my god! Well, so no, it's even better than the YouTube poops because what I didn't know until I saw an Awesome Games does
cutscenes.
Yeah, an Awesome Games Done Quick is the speed. There's two big speedrunning categories for like the CDI Zelda games, but by far the more popular one is the you aren't allowed to skip the cutscene speedrun.
All cutscene %, yeah.
And so you have to get to all the cutscenes, and you can't skip them when you get there. And it was clear, because whenever it's Awesome Games Done Quick, they have like the moderator who reads chats and stuff, and so they had this woman who was being the moderator for it, and she apparently wasn't like they got someone who wasn't familiar with the game as one of the moderators. And so they were mentioning it and they're just like, so have you ever seen it? I forget her name. We'll just call her Tina. And it's like, have you seen this before, Tina? And she's like, no, I haven't. And they're just like, oh my. Like, so you're in for a treat. And like when the first thing happens, everyone's just staring at her and she's just making the shocked Pikachu face the entire time. Like, what is this?
Wait, what game are you talking about?
CDI Zelda. I think it was
Zelda. I was like Hotel Mario.
Yeah, I think it was I actually think it was Wand of Gamelon. But just the utter confusion at these scenes that make no sense, come out of nowhere, and there's no preamble. They just show up, and every single one, you're left with more questions than you started.
Yep, sounds right.
And it's such a wonderful mess. It's just one of those things that we're coming out of an era of gaming where there was all this venture capital money that went into gaming as venture capital finally discovered video game companies essentially, and it's led to some trends I don't like. But that's a very different era from the one in the middle of the 90s where no one knew what it really could be. And so people were just trying things that made no sense whatsoever. And it's led to some of the most insane gaming moments that you're just like, what series of decisions let this happen? And why is there some Russian animation company that's involved in it? I'll never forget the weirdness of one time I'm driving and the car I'm behind, I'm like, what is that bumper sticker? And I realize it's the king from Faces of Evil that's just on his back window or whatever. Just on the middle of Geneva Road, for those who know what I'm talking about. Just some guy has the king from Faces of Evil just on his back windshield. And I wanted to stalk him and I just ask why, but I decided that wasn't, legal. So I didn't. But I wanted to know. I had questions for this man. And I want to interview people in other cars who don't know what that is and ask them, what What do you think's going on here? What's your opinion on this? My goodness, that'd be an amazing video. Just expose my dad to faces of evil. So
yeah, capitalize on all that old people doing young people things. Money.
Except this is older person doing old people things. Wand of Gamelon is in the 90s.
True. It due to the meme culture of Gen Z, it always will, like, it exists beyond its own time.
Yeah, well, and that's the great thing about things like that, is I know about every 5 years, there's going to be a wave of remember the CDI Zelda games, as a whole new generation is introduced to that ball of insanity. And they're just wait, what happened? And then everyone's like, oh, they don't know. It's time for their rite of gaming passage. Everyone, cue up the cutscenes.
Yeah, it's like every 5 years, a new wave of Emperor's New Groove memes comes out. A new wave of like Season 1 SpongeBob memes comes out. A new wave of like crossover with old Elder Scrolls like Morrowind memes come out. And a new wave of CDI game memes come out.
Yeah, and it's those every, I guess that'd be a quarter of a generation where it's their turn to discover this thing as they unearth the sins of their parents.
Of a sort.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've been going for quite a while, so let's do you have anything? Anyone have anything else?
Well, I still have a few. I guess the last one I had purely for music was a game called Radiant Silvergun. I don't know if anyone's heard of it.
I'm sorry, what?
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Wow, you're like really going down the back catalog of these Japanese RPGs.
Radiant Silvergun.
Without even knowing anything.
I heard the name 8 years ago and never heard it again.
I'm fairly certain that's like my password to Facebook or something.
So that one,
correct.
I'm listening to my video game radio, and I'm like, I hear a song come up. I'm like, this sounds like it's from Final Fantasy Tactics. It must be one of the Tactics games, or maybe some other Square Enix game. And I look it up, and it's like, wait, Radiant Silvergun. I've never heard of this game before. It's not a Square Enix game.
I was gonna say, did it even have an American release?
But it is Hitoshi Sakamoto, but who did do the music to Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ogre Battle, the Ogre Tactics Ogre, Treasure Hunter G, which is another game I want to mention too. But like all of these like Square Enix games, but it's a shoot 'em up, it's a shmup, and I was completely just like, wait, you made a soundtrack that fits a final a SquareSoft Tactics game and put that music to a shmup. Okay, whatever, but I like the music because I liked Final Fantasy Tactics and its music. It was just kind of funny. Yeah.
Radiant Silvergun. That sounds made up. That sounds like what my dad would come up with. Like if I asked,
says it's developed for the Sega Saturn. Wow.
Yep. Sega Saturn.
No, but like if I asked my dad, like, Dad, make up a name for an anime, he might come up with Radiant Silvergun as a joke.
Nice.
Delicious in Dungeon.
And then
I can't believe that's a real thing.
I guess I'll cut out some of the others I had written down, like
it.
Okami and Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Metal Gear Solid. But the last things I want to mention were, these were games that I wanted to play on
Wait,
Super
you didn't
Nintendo.
play MGS ever?
Say what?
You never played Metal Gear Solid?
I played Metal Gear Solid 2, but I didn't.
But never the first one.
Interesting.
I haven't played the first one. The only time I tried to play it was I tried to play it on the Purple Wonder. You remember the Purple Wonder? Baggins?
I remember the Purple Wonder very well.
Now you must explain the Purple Wonder.
So Baggins had an old CRT TV.
I picked it up at a thrift store.
And he gave it to me, but it's called the Purple Wonder because when you first turn it on, the color green doesn't work. And sometimes it'll warm up, and that laser will start hitting the phosphorus for green. But sometimes it wouldn't at all.
Metal Gear Solid's a really green game.
Yes, so I tried to play Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, the remake, on that Purple Wonder, and green was not warming up that day.
Oof.
And I start the game, I cannot see a single thing, and then suddenly I see a purple exclamation mark appear. And
that didn't work.
And then purple muzzle flashes, and I can't even tell where I am on the screen.
You're playing a reverse stealth game.
And then and then I hear, Big Boss shouting Snake, or Colonel shouting Snake, and that was my attempt. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
Oh, that's great.
The reverse stealth game is somehow an indie concept that hasn't been done yet.
Indeed.
Yeah, no, I mean, to play it with, seriously, if someone needs to, that needs to be like a AGDQ, speed run.
This is the
no green Metal Gear Solid.
No, it's just we find that old television, and it's just a speedrunning category called Purple Wonder.
The Purple Wonder %.
It's basically high stakes hide and seek.
Yep. So, yeah.
I've got one other game that I don't know if any of y'all have played this. It's one that I haven't played, but I am very glad for its existence, and that's Zero Wing.
Oh, yes. Zero Wing.
Because that is the origin of probably the first meme I ever really was aware of.
I would say it's the second meme. Hamster Dance was the first meme.
That was the first meme, but yes, Zero Wing was definitely the
first game that I was aware of.
The first video. Definitely the first video I remember seeing. That meme video.
Like anything that like predates things like You're the Man Now Dog and E-Bomb's World is going deep into internet lore, but All Your Base are belong to us.
I still remember, I can't believe they actually made all those, all your base things. I didn't even understand that Photoshop was a thing.
Oh,
I was like, how did they find all these people to do the all your base stuff?
And the thing is, the song's actually quite a banger.
Oh yeah,
Your base, your base are belong to us.
When are we getting Mad Cats in Smash?
Oh gosh,
he should be an assist trophy at the minimum, right?
Oh goodness.
How are you, gentlemen?
That'd be amazing. Come on, Sakurai, don't be such a coward. Forget us, Mad Cats.
Well, someone sets up the bomb and then Bomberman comes, right? Make it part of Bomberman's trophy.
There's all sorts of fun stuff you could do. All right. Let's...
I was just going to quickly say the last three that were games that weren't released in the US that I wanted to play, which are, of course, are Mother 3, Seiken Densetsu 3, which now has been released as Trials of Mana. I tried to play it, and they use save states, and I accidentally wiped my save state.
I thought I heard a rumor about Mother 3, but maybe I'm just crazy.
And
there's always rumors about Mother 3.
It was released on NSO in Japan, but not worldwide.
And then the last one, I'm curious if Baggins has heard of this game, Treasure of the Rudras.
It sounds vaguely familiar, but it's not what I'm familiar with now.
It's made by, it uses the same engine as Final Fantasy VI, and I think it's made by the same people.
Oh, Mother 3 is coming to Switch Online in Japan, but not the US. Oh my gosh.
Man, that's so
Why
cruel.
would Reggie do that?
Oh my goodness.
I don't want to translate it.
They don't have to.
They don't want to, and we all know why. The
because
cult.
We want it?
No, because the cult. And if you don't know what that is, look. Okay, didn't expect that reference, but no.
I see new things every now.
Yeah, no, but so what's that cult called in the game?
Well, Earthbound has the cult. They changed it to the Happy Happy cult.
Yeah.
The blue, or was it the blue coat or cult, or the Happy Happy? One of those two.
I just think they don't want to bother with the potential issue.
But I mean, they did it for Earthbound, and it's the same cult, isn't it?
I don't think. I thought it was something different. I don't know. Point is,
something different.
I think at this point they now just don't want to do it because the fans have asked, and they just kind of want to see how long they can go without doing it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's just out of spite.
It's like, let's just see how long. It's now like the long-standing tradition. They want to see how long they can play chicken with the fan base. Or maybe it's like in case, like, they're saving it for when the company's like truly in an emergency. And it's there in case of emergency break glass localization.
And all it does is kick Ivan Ooze.
Well, that was the old joke for Square Enix with the emergency FF7 remake button, right?
Yeah, true. For the record, Pachivka, that was good. I appreciated that. All right.
You would at least remember that.
Speaking of which, that comes out tomorrow, doesn't it?
Tomorrow, yep. Tomorrow.
Ivan Ooze?
You have news?
No, I said Ivan Ooze.
Oh.
Lead to your doom.
Anyway, Mithril, do you have anything you want to promote?
Sure, yeah. I have YouTube channel, youtube.com/MithrilZenith, where I talk a lot about Fire Emblem and from a game design perspective. Recently I've been breaking down unit archetypes, kind of like, okay, what roles do they play in your army? How are they used across the various games? And okay, why are some of them good and some of them bad? And then kind of breaking down like the systems and mechanics behind the scenes of what makes that the case, opposed to just looking at units and comparing, oh, well, this one has good stats. Well, does that really matter? Is that what matters? You know, stuff like that. So if you're interested in that sort of like design side mentality, check it out.
All right. Pirate, do you want to promote anything? I know you don't have anything like any projects, but
Just here for the ride.
all right. Lunasar, what about you?
Not anything in particular, though. I guess I'll just do one last mention. La Pucelle Tactics. Consider it Disgaea 0, and I'm glad it exists because I enjoy Disgaea. So.
Aye, dude. Lizzie.
I will promote my stream, twitch.com/Lizzie Petrichor. I do mostly Pokemon shiny hunting. I am on a Pidove hunt that's currently at 1,940 encounters.
Yeah, that's the worst one yet, isn't it?
No, I actually have one worse, but it wasn't on stream.
Oh,
my
okay.
worst was 1993, so I'm at 1940, getting close.
Jeez Louise.
All I know is her shiny hunting makes me, feel like a weakling for complaining about getting the Sword of Kings in Earthbound.
All I know is I'm getting concerned because her attempts are starting to reach like the actual year.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. So I stream Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11:30 to 1:30 Pacific time, typically, if anybody would like to pop in and say hi.
It's a good stream. I approve. Baggins.
The Innkeeper's Table, it's a board game podcast. Check it out.
It's a very good one, too. I like it.
Splice was on an episode.
It's true. I'm very proud of it. It's a good episode. Most importantly, though, I've been doing Video Game 20 Questions. We're doing that again this Thursday. So if you haven't done it, you should definitely join in. It's a ton of fun. And most importantly, I finally got the template I need to turn those into shorts done. Took me long enough, but I got it done. So hopefully those should be showing up on this very channel soon. So yeah, any final thoughts on games that you love that you've never played?
Man, they should make more good video games.
Speaking of outros, I love the outro. I don't know if he still uses it, but Scott the Waz's outro.
Mm-hmm.
Block Destruction from 3D Dot Game Heroes. Appreciate that game because I love that song and I love that outro and he makes me laugh.
He's pretty good.
I'm going to do a quick shout out. Time and Eternity has a beautiful soundtrack, if you have a chance to look that up.
What is it?
Time and Eternity, I don't remember much. Loonstar's only played it a tiny bit, but the music is one I'm so glad we had the soundtrack for.
Time and Eternity.
That one's actually famous because that entire game is completely hand-drawn by anime artists. It is not computer generated, but entirely hand-drawn. At least the main characters, like the characters in the game.
Huh. So sort of like an anime version of Cuphead.
Yes, it's an anime version of Cuphead that's an RPG.
Weird. Huh. Never heard of it.
Huh. Oh. Hey guys.
Yeah?
I think we overleveled.